A performance indicator. A key performance indicator is a type of performance measurement. KPIs evaluate the success of an organization or of a particular activity in which it engages. Often success is simply the repeated periodic achievement of some levels of operational goal, and sometimes success is defined in terms of making progress towards strategic goals. Accordingly, choosing the right KPIs relies upon a good understanding of what is important to the organization. What is important often depends on the department measuring the performance, e.g., the KPIs useful to finance will really differ from the KPIs assigned to sales. Since there is a need to understand well what is important, various techniques to assess the present state of the business and its key activities are associated with the selection of performance indicators. These assessments often lead to the identification of potential improvements. So performance indicators are routinely associated with performance improvement initiatives. A very common way to choose KPIs is to apply a management framework such as the balanced scorecard. Categorization of indicators. Key performance indicators define a set of values against which to measure. These raw sets of values, which are fed to systems in charge of summarizing the information, are called indicators. Indicators identifiable and marked as possible candidates for KPIs can be summarized into the following subcategories. Quantitative indicators that can be presented with a number. Qualitative indicators that can't be presented as a number. Leading indicators that can predict the outcome of a process. Lagging indicators that present the success or failure post hoc. Input indicators that measure the amount of resources consumed during the generation of the outcome. Process indicators that represent the efficiency of the productivity of the process. Output indicators that reflect the outcome or results of the process activities. Practical indicators that interface with existing company processes. Directional indicators specifying whether or not an organization is getting better. Actionable indicators of sufficiently in an organization's control to affect change. Financial indicators used in performance measurement and when looking at an operating index. Key performance indicators, in practical terms and for strategic development, are objectives to be targeted that will add the most value to the business. These are also referred to as key success indicators. Identifying indicators of organization. Performance indicators differ from business drivers and aims. A school might consider the failure rate of its students as a key performance indicator which might help the school understand its position in the educational community, whereas a business might consider the percentage of income from returning customers as a potential KPI. The key stages in identifying KPIs are having a predefined business process, having requirements for the BPs, having a qualitative measurement of the results and comparison with set goals, investigating variances and tweaking processes or resources to achieve short-term goals. Key performance indicators are ways to periodically assess the performances of organizations, business units, and the division, departments and employees. Accordingly, KPIs are most commonly defined in a way that is understandable, meaningful, and measurable. They are rarely defined in such a way such that the fulfillment would be hampered by factors seen as non-controllable by the organizations or individuals responsible. Such KPIs are usually ignored by organizations. KPI should follow the SMART criteria. This means the measure has a specific purpose for the business. It is measurable to really get a value of the KPI. The defined norms have to be achievable. The improvement of a KPI has to be relevant to the success of the organization. And finally, it must be time-phased, which means the value or outcomes are shown for a predefined and relevant period. In order to be evaluated, KPIs are linked to target values, so that the value of the measure can be assessed as meeting expectations and not problems. In practice, overseeing key performance indicators can prove expensive or difficult for organizations. Some indicators, such as staff morale, may be impossible to quantify. As such, dubious KPIs can be adopted that can be used as a rough guide rather than a precise benchmark. Key performance indicators can also lead to perverse incentives and unintended consequences as a result of employees working to the specific measurements at the expense of the actual quality or value of the work. Sometimes the collecting of statistics can become a substitute for a better understanding of the problems. The use of dubious KPIs can result in progress in aims and measured effectiveness becoming different. For example, U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War were shown to be effective in kill ratios and high body counts, but this was misleading when used to measure aims, as it did not show the lack progress in the U.S. aim in the conflict of increasing South Vietnamese government control of its territory. Another example would be for measuring the productivity of a software development team in terms of source lines of code, which can result in large amounts of dubious code being added, which leads little to a better system. A similar problem occurs when a footballer kicks a ball uselessly in a match to build up his statistics.